All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Pritesh here with Kaizen Crypto, bringing you another video. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. I hope you guys are all doing well. Today, I had the privilege of being able to speak with Micky, the CEO of World Mobile Team. So, World Mobile Team is on a mission to connect the unconnected. So this is something that I feel like really resonates with what we're trying to do with bringing about financial and identity infrastructure to places like Africa. So I learned a lot from this interview. We talked about a whole bunch of different things as it relates to the vision of the World Mobile Team. We got a chance to learn more about Micky and his background. Some of the reasons why he formed the partnership between his company, World Mobile, and IOG. So we went into quite a few things, and I got the opportunity to learn a lot about why this is going to be a win-win scenario and a mutually beneficial partnership between the synergies of both companies. And as far as how that relates to Cardano, all this infrastructure is going to be running on the Cardano blockchain. So it's an exciting thing to see, right? If you think about how many billions of people there are in the world, almost half of them are unbanked. So it's an incredible market. It's an incredible opportunity to get in there and disrupt some of these industries. So I learned a lot from this interview. We also did talk about some of the things as it relates to their token. So they have World Mobile Token, and we went into some of the details regarding that. Of course, you guys know, not financial advice here on the channel, really just trying my best to put out as much information as possible for the community so we can all make the best informed decisions. So guys, I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. Make sure you drop a like for me. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Lots more Cardano content to come. There's so many amazing things happening with this project. So guys, let's go ahead and jump right in. Welcome everyone. So I'm very excited to be joined by Micky, the CEO of World Mobile Team. So Micky, thanks so much for joining. How are you doing today?
Pritesh, I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. I'm really excited to talk with you more about World Mobile Team and what you guys are trying to do with connecting the unconnected. So I
Pleasure.
guess getting right into it, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and about your background?
Sure. I'm Micky Watkins. I'm a telecom guy through and through. The last 20 years, I've been trying to find ways to make connectivity options much cheaper, more accessible. The last 5, 6 years, I've been focused on privacy. But as I started to understand the implementation that's needed to make a private network that the world's going to use, I realized that was quite a futile effort when everybody wants to use WhatsApp and different types of messengers for convenience. And then in my quest to find out who didn't have connectivity, who I could kind of reboot the status quo and allow people to have their privacy back in some kind of way, or at least share what's shared about them. I found out that 3.7 billion people are unconnected. So I put one and two together, one being my previous work, two, the privacy element, and out came the World Mobile Chain.
I see. That's very interesting. I first heard about your project during the Cardano Africa special and what you guys are trying to do with bringing about this infrastructure. You know, it's very interesting to learn about your background and privacy and how that kind of relates to banking the unbanked, so to speak. So 3.7 billion people.
Yeah.
Wow.
3.7 billion people unconnected is crazy, right? That's nearly half the world. When I say unconnected, it doesn't actually mean totally unconnected. It means unconnected from the internet, and it means potential to have phone calls, but those phone calls are overcharged. Potential to bank via USSD codes, but quite often they're penalized, using this kind of banking system, and the operators are making tons of money. So when I say unconnected, there really are 3.7 billion people without service like you and I have, without access to the same set of tools and services that we have today.
Sure. Yeah, it's amazing to think about, something that a lot of people like that live in developing countries might even take for granted is just being able to, get onto Google, something so basic, or log into your own account, such as social media, or, just having a bank account. So I guess as far as World Mobile Team and, how we're planning on addressing some of these problems, I guess what would you say is like the underlying mission, or like what's the vision for this project going into the next like maybe 5 or 10 years?
Okay, so it sounds quite simple. It's going to be difficult, but it's definitely possible. Google and Facebook and Microsoft have proven that that's possible. What they haven't proven is a sustainable business model. So the next 6 months, the next 3 to 6 months, will be proving that we can roll out off-the-shelf infrastructure equipment in order to be able to build a mobile network for a fraction of the price of existing mobile networks. Then at that point, we'll be connecting Zanzibar with our partners there. We should have anywhere between 100 to 500,000 people on the network within a year. Before the end of this year, approximately 100,000 people. That will be the first example of being able to roll off-the-shelf equipment out and connecting people to challenge what's out there right now. Then we implement the sharing economy. So the sharing economy is not new to us. It's something we've been working on for the last 2.5 years. We believe that a big part of the problem is not technology, is the fact that the problem is too big. Even Google, $1 trillion company, they had to shut down operations recently in East Africa with their Bloom project, spent hundreds of millions of dollars on it, right? But this is $1 trillion company, and they can't fix the problem alone. So we're approaching this the different way. We're approaching this from a demand. What we know is that the villagers themselves, the places that are unconnected, absolutely hungry for the internet. They're so hungry that they even have a SIM card plugged into the phone, that they'll even have credit, that even credit is sold at the local shop or vouchers to top up, but there's no service there. So they have to walk 3-4 miles. So the sharing economy is something that we know if we give somebody in a village a pole that gives internet, that gives power, that gives connectivity, and then we combine that with identity, that's something that's going to benefit the whole village, but also the person that owns that pole. It's an incentive for them, they earn rewards. So first step, roll out infrastructure using off-the-shelf equipment. Second step, get the sharing economy right in both Zanzibar and mainland Tanzania. Third step, come to the continent, and this is no longer about countries anymore. This is what the people were looking for, and they're entering into $1 trillion economy. It's not going to be $1 trillion economy yet, but it's, you know, the potential is for much more than $1 trillion economy, because the backbone of how the internet is built today on top of mobile network operators, it's not ready. It's just been slapped on its legacy infrastructure. We're rebooting all of that, resetting all of that, and creating a new relationship between MNO and subscriber and connectivity.
I gotcha.
That's the next, you know, it's hard to see past the next 3-4 years, because I expect to be in 12 to 15 different countries at least, with millions, tens of millions of customers on the network. And then eventually I see this network growing on its own, with partners providing the backhaul infrastructure, the backbone infrastructure in each country, copying the framework and the policies that we're creating right now. And then the villagers or the local entrepreneurs or businessmen being able to microfinance or buy a device and then earn from that, and then to do the last mile of coverage.
I see. Okay, so quite a grand vision. And I just wanted to touch on what you had mentioned about this sharing economy. So just from what I'm gauging from what you had mentioned to me is that you're going to have infrastructure basically where you can voluntarily decide to help contribute to this network, so to speak. But could you elaborate just a little bit on what does it actually mean to participate in a sharing economy?
Okay, so we come into the country, we buy the mobile network operator licensing or whatever licensing we need at the time to be commercial. We then build the backbone infrastructure. So China has thankfully has invested tons of dollars into infrastructure layout, especially fiber rollout across Africa. But it's underused because nobody's there to use it. There are, but there's no infrastructure to capitalize on it. So what we do is we come into the country, buy the mobile network operator license, pick up on the fiber, don't use existing spectrum like GSM, but we use alternative spectrum. We then plug that fiber into a series of alternative spectrum devices, which can actually effectively beam connection across the whole of an area. For example, TV white space is 25 kilometers squared. And anywhere within that radius, somebody with a pole, the air node, can pick up on that TV white space, convert it to Wi-Fi, and share. So what we have to do in the beginning is we provide the air nodes to the villages. But in the end, we would like people to be able to build their own air node out of their existing infrastructure. They can buy secondhand offline, or that they own inside the shop that they have themselves, or any way to, you know, bring on as many networks as possible. Mesh networks have existed, and many do throughout Africa, and Wi-Fi networks, but it's very hard to monetize them, because internet alone is great, but if you don't have identity, how do you get a MasterCard? How do you get a Visa? How do you get PayPal? How do you pay for stuff? How do you get insurance? How do you get banking? So it's that, you know, it's the it's the infrastructure connectivity layer, which is coupled with a digital currency, and then the second layer, which is the Itala Prism, the identity layer, and that is what's opening up the new world.
Wow, very interesting. So mentioning Atala Prism, so that's a solution from IOHK. So
Yes.
learning more about your project, recently saw that you guys had partnered with IOHK. So could you kind of elaborate on that and tell us a little bit about how the synergies between World Mobile Team and IOHK align to bring value and create kind of like this win-win scenario? And how does Cardano also play a role in that?
Right. So I met Charles Hoskinson and his team in Edinburgh at a Plutus Fest. And I was brought by a mutual friend of ours, now, a guy called James Bowater. He's the global ambassador for World Mobile. And he said to me, "You got to go meet Charles." So we went up to Edinburgh. We went to meet Charles. And I said to him, "Look, I get what you're doing, and it's incredible. And I've thought about this. And this is part of my privacy solution with DIDs. But I'm not going to build it. I'm not going to build it because you need me to bank the unbanked. I need you, to you need me to connect the unconnected before you bank the unbanked. I want to bank the unbanked, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So this is a perfect relationship." So we spoke. We met in the offices the following day. We had a few conversations, and he said, "Look, I'm going to send a guy called John over to Tanzania to meet Andy and RJ. Andy and RJ are co-founders of World Mobile." And sure enough, John O'Connor was on the airplane, met with Andy. RJ saw what we were doing, and the rest is history. It's just been two years of building, 2 years of planning, and now we're ready for a full-scale rollout after the feasibility studies. And as soon as I met John, as soon as I met Charles, I was like, "Is there anybody more serious?" People are still talking about, hey, Moon and crazy things and crypto. These guys have had their heads down, focused, investing money into peer-reviewed studies, into building a real blockchain, not something that was just thought about by a group of kids, but something that was thought about by a group of kids, but also thoroughly tested by peers, right, that had academic backgrounds. So I liked it, and I said, this is the way that we also approach ourselves. We're adventurous. We can believe in opening up a new world, and it's a symbiotic relationship. So that's why IOHK.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the things that drawed me to the project as well, was just seeing their approach towards developing their blockchain. So amazing to see that you guys are working together. So you are connecting the unconnected, and then with IOHK and Cardano, banking the unbanked. So I definitely do see the synergies there between
For sure.
both of your missions and your projects. So it's amazing to see what you guys come up with. So I guess as far as what you're working on currently, with John O'Connor, the head of African operations for IOHK. So you guys had mentioned Tanzania. Could you tell us, how is the progress going in Tanzania?
So Tanzania and Zanzibar. So we've created with our partners there. We built a mesh network that housed over 60,000 students, hosted them, provided them much cheaper Wi-Fi connectivity, given them more hours online for a much cheaper price with our partners. We've built a couple of smart cities. We saw crazy stuff happening when we got there. Within a month or two. This is without being commercial. This is without having electronic money or transfer of, the population grew by 3 times. The pubs, the shops doubled. The people inside the villages, their bedtime increased from, stayed up from 8 o'clock, 8:30, where it was dark outside, whereas the airnode had a street light until 11, which created more business, more restaurants, more. So it changed everything. And now we've gathered all of that experience from all these feasibility studies. We've got the best team together, and now is the full-blown rollout that will happen in the next 4 to 5 weeks in Zanzibar, where we'll start to see the beginning of 100,000 people connected, probably sooner than we've said, but got to be conservative.
I see. Okay. So we're talking a lot about these nodes. So I've heard so far air nodes, earth nodes. What is
Yes.
it exactly? And is it something that's currently running the Cardano blockchain, or is it a separate blockchain, or does blockchain even have to be involved with something like that?
Sure. Blockchain is really important with telecoms. So you've got the earth node. The earth node is the computational layer, the clouds. It hosts the telecom layer, which routes calls, sends messages, has file space storage as well. It has the internode API, and then of course it has the blockchain element. So when you say what's Cardano to this, Cardano is, we are a permissioned sidechain to Cardano. So it's running on Cardano. but it's got a lot more telecom features built in that IOHK are building with us in conjunction. So yeah, absolutely. At the core, it's Cardano, and it runs on the Cardano network, and it will be bringing mass adoption and mass inclusion to the Cardano network as a settlement layer. We're going to be able to plug all of these solutions in to make a viable product for Africa, right? But what each one of these individual solutions at all, they're not a solution to fix it. We've chosen a different way. Don't invent anything. Just go and rebuild everything. Use the best of what's available. Use the best research and development that billions of dollars has gone into that we haven't had to spend. And then, you know, when a new Wi-Fi protocol comes out, snap it on. Plug it into with the Raspberry Pi into the API, and plug it into the world mobile chain. Boom. Earlier on, I was saying to you about telecom companies, right, and blockchain. So before the age of OTT apps and WhatsApp, you'd make a telephone call. And half the world is still calling, by the way, with normal telephone calls, PSTN. You don't know when you're getting billed and when you're not. So you might be getting billed for the ring time. It's illegal for a carrier to bill you for the ring time, but they've got to try and make more money. So if you think like Sprint has 4 million, 5 million customers across several states, right? If they bill each one of those customers like 5 seconds, 6 seconds of billing on the ring time, they've got a hell of a lot of revenue coming through daily. They're talking about, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars extra daily without the user even knowing what's happening. So the telecom companies have become really abusive. And again, that's something that is, you know, I feel we need to fix, and we can fix it in Africa by giving the people the power. They see something bad, they say, hey, I don't want this provider on my network anymore. Why are they charging me for this? I saw, you know, an alert come up because it's on the blockchain, because I was able to have something immutable. Plug Google Home in through the world mobile chain, and all of a sudden you'll see a ping that Google started to listen to your microphone and in your room. You don't know that right now. It's all myth, right? It's like, oh, does Google listen? Does Google not listen? Does Alexa listen? Doesn't, you know, through the world mobile chain, through the use of blockchain and immutability, you're able to take these logs, you're able to process them, and you're able to give a user an individual chain of their own, which is running as a side chain to Cardano, and they're able to see that stuff. So it's going to change everything. It's going to change the perception of how people, the relationship of connectivity with people.
Wow. And to think about what you are building, it's eliminating the middleman, so to speak, so that people, they can verify that, okay, I'm being charged XYZ. And then based on that, they're able to choose which service provider that they would like to go with. So it is going to incentivize a bit of a healthy competition in that sense too.
Definitely. So in the beginning, I have to be the one that arranges the banking. I have to be the one that arranges the telephone calls. But in the end, there'll be a marketplace where people can come and offer minutes to different destinations, and you'll be able to see if someone's cheating you on the network, and you'll be able to say, hey, hold on, I don't want him on the network. Give him a bad rating, give him a bad review. The governance of the network belongs to the people. Eventually, it will be pushed to the people. They'll be able to say, hey, we don't want this guy. Or this insurance company has come on. They promised us to give us a flat rate insurance of $4.99, but we know 7,000 people that haven't actually received their payout for the insurance. Now, let's kick these guys off. Vote, boom, done. It's democratizing communications.
Sure, absolutely. So it's almost like you are the decentralized version of what you would see with these tech companies. Like these tech giants control all the data. They have the resources, you know, these trillion-dollar companies to be able to do this. But then here we are with World Mobile Team. You know, what you guys are trying to do is essentially spread the power to the edges, like give the people the control over their own data, their own money, their identity. So, you know, as far as the business model, you know, it's an interesting concept, because what I think that, you know, just from looking at this objectively, I see that what you have with these nodes, this earth nodes, air nodes, creating these incentives in place so that there's essentially small businesses that are created within this infrastructure, you know, providing people who decide to participate a financial means to benefit themselves as well as contribute to the health of this ecosystem. So I think that, you know, that right there in my mind is what would create a very viable business model.
That's what we think as well. So if you can make this air node, let me explain what an air node is. So it's an oversized solar panel. It's a pole. Just underneath the panel, there's a street light. Underneath that is a wireless access point. It can be Ubiquiti, Motorola, Cisco, Ruckus. We support many devices. Plugged in via a Raspberry Pi into the port, and then we pull the information back into the chain from there. Now we've got at the bottom of this second life batteries. Those second life batteries are from the electronic vehicle revolution in China. So we repurpose them, and then they make for fantastic storage. So all of that costs $5,000. Right. So, and en masse, maybe we can make it even cheaper. And if we can find partners, hardware partners like Cisco, to create custom versions, not our own custom proprietary, but custom versions for the network to be built out, then it could be even cheaper. So $5,000 though isn't really a lot for an African businessman to invest. You know, it's similar to invest into livestock or crop or a shop or any other kind of business. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make it as viable as option as to owning a shop or cows.
Sure, absolutely. Now, do you feel like there would be some barrier to entry for people who do want to get started because of the startup cost, or are you feeling like because the cost is made relatively low, like you're using parts that you would see that are recycled from other manufacturers, and Raspberry Pi, a single board computer, maybe like $30-$40 for a full-fledged computer, pretty much. Like, do you feel like there is going to be any type of opportunity there in terms of lowering cost and reducing the barrier to entry?
An AirNode could be as a device as small as a MiFi in your hand. We have a SIM card that works in 53 different countries right now. You can become a provider on the world mobile chain for as little as owning $100 device, but it's not going to bring so much connectivity to your village. So we found that in our research, that this $5,000 device, it's a reasonable amount of money to expect somebody to invest, and the ROI is really exciting. So the ROI on this device in a village of 200 to 300 people is a year and a half, 2 years. So it's not like they have to invest $5,000 and wait 3-4 years, and then this is quite a quick. And the way that the incentives have been created through the tokenomics is that EarthNode and AirNode owners are rewarded a lot, proportionately to encourage the growth of the network, to encourage the connectivity layer. We know that if there's connectivity, people connect. We've seen people come from other villages to shout at our villages and say, hey, why don't we have internet over here? This is not acceptable. We say, hey, we're coming, we're just getting everything right, the commercials, but please wait. But we know that people want internet, so they'll come. So it's a really attractive business. It's a hot business. It's the ROI, as I said, it looks fantastic. The numbers look fantastic, and it's just about reworking the rules, the framework. Telecom companies don't usually share. Let's take, for example, Dent as a business model. Great idea, fantastic idea, but arbitrage and reselling of telecom other providers' data is just not inside the other provider's business model. They don't accept it. It's not the fair usage policy. They work on overage. So they work on, okay, so you need 10 gigabytes of data. Well, we'll give you X, and as soon as you get below X, and actually we'll sell you 10, but you'll only use 7, but the other 3. It's an interesting way of working with a customer. So for us, we do that really differently. It's just, you buy what you buy. It's a gigabyte. It's a flat cost. There's no post pay on our network. It's prepay. And one of the things that we want to work with IOHK and Cardano, the biggest things is top-up loans. Top-up loans will be available on the world mobile network sooner than later, hopefully this side of this year. So that's not just DeFi, right? Now we're talking about real fi. We're talking about having liquidity pools and being able to bring them over from staking, and to be able to actually exercise those and top up loans to the people who need it the most, earning fractions of percentages, but saving them tens of percentages, right? Because right now in Africa and places that are unconnected, places where poverty is often high, top up loans and any type of loan is disproportionate, the percentage that you need to pay back. It's tens and tens of percentages weekly, or potentially 100%, monthly, if you can get that term. If we can bring back just a few percentages, I'm very sure that the communities, the DeFi communities, will be very happy to be part of a real functioning, working economy that is, leading to mass adoption and bringing back into the pool.
Wow. So many things to consider there with that. The economic viability, real fi, talking about that as far as the deliverables for running this infrastructure. It's like creating this sharing economy that has no need for a middleman, but yet you have the control and power, based on your participation in the network. So it's a very exciting thing to see that's happening. And, the possibilities, I feel like a lot of these things, once we do see them reach a full scale where mass adoption is truly achieved, the potential is just amazing.
I think so too. That's why we're here. It's explosive growth can happen like we've never seen before. And for me, when it reaches my front door here I live in Barcelona with the tech team, but when it reaches my front door here and I see World Mobile, I know that I've done my job correctly, and I won't settle until then. But first of all, starting in sub-Saharan Africa, 1 billion people, over 1 billion people, sub-Saharan Africa, 800 million without internet. It's a massive, massive, massive opportunity for us and for the people on the ground.
I was watching an interview that you had done previously, and you had talked about how with some of this infrastructure, it's not only providing the connectivity to get onto the internet, but you're also having ways for, I guess, solar energy, right? So people like it's powered by solar panels, being able to provide light as well as the means to get connected to the internet.
It's a massive problem in Africa, right? Half of the reason the infrastructure isn't there is simply because there's no power. So, and when there is, where there's no power, the mobile network operators, to be fair, they do try to go out to the rural areas and they try to connect, and then they'll put a diesel generator there, but then that diesel generator can break or can get stolen or whatever. And when this is another thing about the sharing economy, when something is valued and you value it yourself and you look after it because it's making money for you, then often it doesn't get stolen because it's providing like a cow or like crop or like a fishing boat. It's yours. It provides value. You take care of it. And even more so when the people in the village are able to, the community are able to connect and able to entertain themselves, to charge their phones, to get street light. Again, they don't want that damaged. It's opening a new world for everybody, and it's a valuable resource to everybody. These air nodes, not just to the owners that are owning them, but also to the subscribers that need to connect to them because they're accessible, it's affordable, and it's right outside their front doorstep. Where most often they typically had to catch a bus or walk X kilometers, potentially more, in order to just be able to access internet. And when they get there, they're paying crazy prices for the internet.
I see. Gotcha. So now, as far as this infrastructure that is going to be put in place, so for the most part, we're seeing it right now being used in Africa. So as far as some of the legislations regarding that, I know very different from what you would see typically in a lot of the developed parts of the world. What are some of the legislations and some of the regulatory stances that you've had to take as a company to be able to have something like this?
Wow. It's probably one of the strongest elements in our team. So we've got the former chief investment officer of the IFC, which is a private division of the World Bank. He was responsible for managing a $70 billion portfolio of telecom companies. We've got the former general director of the CCK of Kenya, Charles Njoroge. He's like a godfather of guy who created the policies and regulations and regulated the East African community, as an example. We've got Chris Watson. He's global head of CMS for the TMT, especially telecom legal side, and also an advisor to the World Bank. And we've got and the list goes on. So I've made sure that the one thing that stands in the way of mass adoption and cryptocurrencies is regulation. So telecommunications is built for blockchain. Telecommunications is built for decentralized digital IDs, right? We're in a moment where the convergence of acceptance, the need for connectivity, and the technology with companies like IOHK, who invested so much into making this a reality, all these things at once can actually lead to explosive growth and the adoption of blockchain technology for good. Not just for cool things or for future things or for technological advancements or for DeFi or for, there's a real purpose here. And there's many real purposes. There's many cool technologies and they all need internet. And to break into a market, to try and disrupt a market like mobile money, as an example, to try and disrupt markets that exist right now, is not the easiest. It's hard. You need tens of millions or if you're big, hundreds of millions of dollars in order to be able to compete with the existing oligopolies. Half the world's offline. Get this half the world connected, give them a fair start, give them the ability to be a better start than we had. We can't reset it, like I said earlier on, but give these guys, these girls, give them the ability to have, self-data governance, to have economic freedom of choice. That's their dignity. it's back, right? And we don't have that. We've lost a little bit of that on this side of the water, and it's going to be hard to regain it. But we can reboot it in Africa, starting there where the demand is the highest, and then we can bring it to the rest of the world.
Absolutely. That resonates a lot with me. And what you just said about the people that are seeing this infrastructure being built now, they've almost got a head start, so to speak, because we can't necessarily go back and change what's already in place in a lot of these developed parts of the world. So, almost having this clean slate, it's like an advantage, so to speak.
It's a massive disadvantage now, but then you're looking a year and a half, 2 years, and you'll say, whoa, I want some of that. This is the standard that I want. I want to be respected in this way by my mobile network operator. And then there's nothing to stop World Mobile coming. This is not Africa Mobile. This is not Asia Mobile. This is World Mobile. But we're going first where the demand is the highest, because that's where the people need it the most. And it's not right that half the world's unconnected and can't participate in the same activities as we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Micky, I wanted to shift gears just a little bit. I know as far as some of the legal and regulatory stances in regards to the World Mobile Token, we do have to wait a little bit on that. So, whatever information, I completely respect that, which you might have to keep low key for the time being. But still, if you're able to give us a little bit more information on World Mobile Token, maybe some of the applications that's going to be used for some of the supply distribution breakdowns. So things like that. Could you tell us a little bit more about World Mobile Token?
The supply distribution breakdown, if you come across to the Telegram channel and you speak to WMT admin, he'd be very happy to explain everything to you there. But I'd like to talk about tokenomics. So this is not something that's been whacked together. This is something that has been spent years of thought into creating. Some of the best in the industry, in the space, have created this. We work with 01 Capital, work with Jose Maciado from Delphi Digital. We've worked for a long time to create new ways of incentivizing this infrastructure rollout. So yeah, just watch and see what happens. This is not something that we've thought about, this just Tanzania or just 2 countries. This is something we've built to grow out to, as I said, in the next 3 years, 12, 13, 14 different countries, and then who knows from there.
I see. Yeah, I think that it's going to start small. And even then, this has been in the works now for decades. So what you guys are doing, it's almost like this focused, concentrated effort to get the infrastructure in place in places like Tanzania and Zanzibar. And then, like you had said, just take over the entire continent of Africa. And then from there, you're going to get billions of people connected. So connecting these people who don't have the infrastructure, getting them situated with this decentralized way to have control of their money, their identity. It's incredible.
Once the people of Africa have built their network and they've got hold of their own identity and they've got hold of their own economic freedom of choice, and they can have a DAO where they can govern what happens on their network, but where the regulator themselves still has power. Right now, the regulator should be the most respected. They're the people that set the standards. They're the people that allow things to happen. But the MNOs, the big tech companies, they don't give them the respect that they deserve. So we're trying to put that back to where it is. And then, we don't want to see anyone's data. We don't want to see anybody's anything. We're the first mobile network that actually we can't see what you do, but the regulator can, because the regulator needs to be able to see what you do, because that's the safety of the country. But this is a different approach to monetization and incentivization. There's so much to share. It's 1,000 mobile network operators operate a $3 trillion market, right? And that's without, like I said, without value-added services like banking, insurance, e-commerce on top of that. So if we managed to reboot it, we managed to put Wi-Fi hotspots essentially, existing from our backhaul inside these villages, and then add identity on top of that. The potential is much more than 3 trillion. You're unlocking just Africa alone, just sub-Saharan Africa. You're unlocking the biggest gig economy the world's ever seen, right? It's 1 billion people, average age 19.7 years old. This is exciting, right? This is for real. This is it's going to be hard, of course it is, but there's nothing to stop somebody else doing this either, but nobody has. So Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they've shown you can get that far. 1,000 mobile network operators on the other side of the world have shown you can connect. You connect 4 billion people, but nobody's there serving this market. Somebody will, and I think it's going to be World Mobile, and so do our partners, and so do our advisors, and so do our board of directors, and so do a lot of people now.
Wow, that is so exciting. Absolutely. So, Mickey, as far as what you guys are doing, I want to make sure that we can follow the project, keep up to date with all the developments happening. It would be great to have the opportunity to speak with you again when
I'd
we
love
have
that.
more information on these developments. But for those who are interested in learning more about your project, where can they go to get up to speed to learn more information?
So worldmobile.io, this is our website. We have a good docs section on there, worldmobiletoken.com. And you can also come to our Telegram, and we have a very active Reddit channel as well. And we welcome you to any one of those channels. All roads lead to connectivity.
Very cool. Well, that is awesome. I will be sure to leave all of those links down in the description below. I'm so excited to see what you guys are doing with connecting the unconnected, and then later on down the road, banking the unbanked. It's just an amazing vision. I think a lot of synergies between World Mobile Team and what we have available very soon on Cardano.
It's pretty cool. And thank you very much for having me on your show. I'd be delighted to come back anytime you invite me, and have a great weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mickey. I really appreciate it. Take
All the
care.
best. Thanks. Cheers.